Hey everyone, this is Matt Hendricks with Follow the Leader Dog Training, and today I'm going to show you how I set up a one dog easy educator from eCollar Technologies. So here's a brand new one, just got it, still in the box, and first I'll just go over everything here. You get some papers, instruction book and stuff with it, and so you should probably look those over. You get the transmitter, the receiver, the charging cables, and also this USB cable doubles as a way to connect the remote here to your computer. You get a pair of long hair contact points. It comes with short haired ones on the collar. A tool for changing the contact points, a light tester so you can test the stimulation, and a little key thing for popping the yellow covers off here if you should ever need to, if you need to change a battery or something. It also comes with this metal belt clip that screws on the back of here, and it comes with this lanyard which you can attach either on the top or on the bottom of the remote depending on how you like to do it. And it also comes with this nice USB drive that you can put in your computer, and it has the owner's manual and some videos and instructions and software and stuff like that on it, so feel free to check that stuff out. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take out the remote and the receiver, and like I said, this one already has the short-haired contact points on it. And before we go any farther, I'm just going to show you that the charger here, the plug part flips out here and goes either way like this, so you can plug it into your wall, whichever way is convenient. And then this end of this cord just plugs into the back of the collar here, like this. And when it's charging, it'll have a red light, and when it's fully charged, this will change to a green light. And I believe this takes about 2 hours to fully charge. And then to charge the transmitter, you open up this rubber port on the back here, and you take this USB cable, and the micro USB end goes into the back of the transmitter here, like that. And then the standard USB end goes into this slot here on the power brick. And so that's how you set it up to charge both your collar and your remote. Also, if you're going to connect the remote to your computer to use any of the software that comes on the USB drive, you use the same USB cable and you just plug this into your computer. Now, the first thing I'm going to do before I go into how to turn these on and set these up is I personally don't like to use the lanyard thing, although if you do, that's great. So I'm going to put the belt clip on the back. Now, my personal preference is to use this thing. It's called an anywhere clip, which is basically a set of 2 magnets that go like this. They clip on opposite sides of almost anything. So your clothing, your pocket, your coat, your purse, whatever it is. And then this little washer stack with the screw screws onto the back of your remote here. And so what happens is, if you look at a remote that has this washer stack on it, then when you're wearing these like this, and obviously be on your clothes and not your finger, then this just sticks like that, and you can easily just grab it and pull it on and off. So this is my favorite way to do it. The other thing is, if you bought the plastic clip like this part clips onto your clothing, and then this part comes off and screws into the back there in the same spot, and so it just slides in there, and you have to just push this button on top to get it out, and then it slides right out. So that's pretty convenient. But both of these are extra accessories and don't come with it, but I did want to mention them because I find them both really convenient, particularly the magnetic system. I'm just going to use the metal clip and the screw that came with it instead of using the additional accessory. So These two things sticking out just go into these two slots like this, and then the screw just screws right in there. And you don't have to get it overly tight, but you do want to make sure it's snug so it doesn't come off. Alright, so now that that's on there, we'll go into how to turn it on and set it up. Let's go over all the buttons on the remote. On this side with the dial, you have an on-off button, which also doubles as a light button. You have the program button. And then on the other side you have S1, S2, and then on the front you have S3 and S4. So to turn it on, we're just going to push and hold the on-off button until the screen lights up. And you can see now that it's on. And you can also see there's a battery meter there that shows you that it has a full battery. Now to turn the receiver on, you align this red magnet on the back of the receiver with this red magnet on the back of the remote until you get a green light. And then you just move it away, and this should continue to flash green like this slowly. If you held it there long enough that it flashed green quickly, then you held it there too long, and you should turn it back off and start over. But if it's flashing green slowly like this, you're good to go. Now, by default, the way these come set up is S1, which is the top button on the side, is momentary stimulation, and you can see that by when I hit it, the M is visible. S2, which is the bottom one here, is continuous. S3 here is vibration, and S4, which is the red button, is tone. Now, in reality, I only ever use momentary and continuous, and with most dogs, I actually just use continuous. So for most dogs, the way I set this up is I make all four of these buttons so that they are continuous, so whichever one you hit is the right one. So the way to do that is you push and hold the P button for program, and while you're doing that, you just push these buttons and you just keep pushing them on and off until you see the right letter on the screen. So for instance, S1 is set to momentary and I want to set it to continuous. So I'm going to push the program button, then I'm going to push momentary. Oh, oops, I have to set to 0 first. Okay, so I'm going to set it to 0, I'm going to push P, and then I'm going to push this button a few times until it says C there. So now, if I test it, you'll see that this button is C as well as this button. So they're both continuous. Now I want to set the front two buttons to continuous too. So I'm going to push the program button with the dial set to 0. And this is how you change the intensity level with this dial up here. So anyway, I'm going to set to 0, push the program button, and then I'm going to hit this button until it gets to continuous. And then I'm going to do the same thing for S4. So now you can see whichever button I hit, it's always continuous. So for most dog owners, this is how I set it up. Now occasionally I will use momentary with a dog, and so if this is a dog I'm using momentary with, then what I will do is I will set the top two buttons, which are S1 and S3, to momentary. So I'll push the program button. Oops, I have to set to 0 first. Okay, so set to 0, push the program button, and then I'll hit that until I get to momentary, and I'll do the same thing for S1. So now the top two buttons, S1 is momentary, S3 is momentary, and then the bottom two buttons, S2 and S4, are continuous. So if I do use momentary, that's how I set it up. Otherwise, I just set all four buttons to continuous. Now, one thing I should point out is right now you can see that the 1D, which stands for one dog, up there is flashing, and that means that if you turn this dial, you can change the level. So if you push and hold the program button though, while the dial is at a given number, until it blinks like that, now you see the 1D stops flashing. And this means that you've locked the stimulation in at whatever level it's at. So you can see now if I turn the dial, it doesn't change the stimulation level because I have it locked in place. So to unlock it, I just push and hold the program button again until that flashes. And now you can see the 1D is flashing again, and I can change the level once again. Now, in real life, I never lock it. I just leave it loose like this all the time because I like to be able to change the levels on the fly like this while I'm working with a dog. That's pretty much it for how to set up your remote. So depending on if you're going to use momentary or not, I either make them all continuous or I make the top 2 momentary and the bottom 2 continuous. You should test it by when you hit a button, the red light should appear on your collar to show you that it's connecting. And also every day when I turn one of these on, I actually, somewhere between 10 and 20, usually around 20 just because it's easy for me to feel, I put my fingers here on the contact point and I just test it like that, just to make sure it works. And you can test at a couple different levels to make sure the dial's working properly too if you want. So that's pretty much all there is to setting this up and turning this on. Now, the one other additional feature is this has an LED light on it, so that if you're out with your dog at night, you can either help keep track of your dog, or if you're walking your dog, it can shine on the road and kind of show you what you're going to step on. So the way to turn that on is using the on-off button. So to turn the remote on and off, you have to push and hold the on-off button in like this. So that turned it off, and if I push and hold again, it turned it on. But if I just hit it briefly once, you'll see that it will turn on the LED light, and it has 2 modes. So there's a flashing mode and a continuous mode. So if I hit it once, it just goes into flashing mode like this. If I just tap it again, and this is the on-off button again we're talking about, then it goes into continuous mode where the light just shines constantly. And so if I hit it again, it turns off. So again, the 3 modes are flashing, constant, and just off like this. So that's pretty much all there is to this. I usually, once I fit this to the dog, so let's just say that the dog's neck is this big or something, and I thread this through, I will cut the excess strap off. So you could cut it off here if you want. Now what I like to do, just to make the collar easier to get off, is I will actually fold this back over and through like this, and then I'll cut it off right here. And the reason is this way, when I want to take it off the dog, I can just grab this little end that's sticking out and I can just pull it, and it just comes undone like this, and I can take it off really easily. But either way, you probably don't want all this extra length on there, so just cut off the excess with a knife or a pair of scissors. So anyway, that's pretty much all there is to setting up a One Dog Easy Educator. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt Hendricks with Follow the Leader Dog Training.